In this episode, I get to speak with Travis Hoechlin, CEO of RizeUp Media. Here, I discover that contracts are not necessary, and client needs, although a priority, are sometimes not known by the clients themselves. Listen in for more. Before we get into this episode, we would like to thank our Season 4 sponsor, Affirm Investigative Solutions, your go-to litigation support company. Without them, we would not be able to keep upgrading and integrating new concepts to this growing podcast. If you would like to take your support further, feel free to hit the support button on our Let's Talk Paralegal website so we can continue providing quality and empowering content for you and all our listeners. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Today, I have Travis with me, and we're going to be talking about something that probably has been introduced to the podcast, but not in the way that you think right now. We're going to do marketing done differently, and he's going to explain to us a little bit what that means. But first, I want you to introduce yourself and really give a nice little background to the audience about you and really what you're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And my name is Travis Hoechlin, and I've been in the legal marketing space for almost 15 years. We worked for my business partner and I worked for a big box store marketing company. And I think probably like a lot of your listeners who had the entrepreneurial itch, we just thought we could do it a little bit better, build the widget a little bit better. And sure enough, here we are 5 years later, and we proved that right. And so we work with approaching about 350 different law firms all across the U.S., all different practice areas. Typically, our clientele is solo practitioners up to about 10 attorneys. And we do everything from, I tell people we do 5 things. We build custom websites. Once those websites are live, we do SEO work to get them to go live. We handle their social media. We do pay-per-click. We manage pay-per-click campaigns or Google AdWords. They may know of that. And then also the relatively new local service ads, which is Google's new pay-per-call program. So what we do is everything we do is we have no contracts. So it holds our feet to the fire to make sure we're producing for our clientele. And we make sure we roll up our sleeves and get into business with them, basically, almost. We kind of their outsourced marketing company and help them grow their business, figure out what they're trying to do and the goals they want to achieve, and help them get there.
Yeah, and that was really what intrigued me the most when I was reviewing the website and doing my research for this interview was 2 things. You had a dog on the website, which everybody knows I'm a dog lover. My dog is literally right next to me, probably like 99.9%. He goes with me everywhere. But I loved it. I thought that was so cool, so genuine. It's a great marketing tool because it's definitely going to attract, like curiosity, which is obviously, the name of the game when it comes to marketing. And of course, what you just mentioned, which was no contracts. So I want to kind of touch into that a little bit. What made you guys make such a bold move, right? A lot of people would look at that as a bold move, because obviously, hey, there's no contract, there's no responsibility, there's no, as lawyers and legal professionals, we're always looking at the legalities of everything. So, tell us a little bit about that and what was the deciding factor of you guys making that decision at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think there's a few different reasons. I think first and foremost is it's how we would want to be treated, right? I mean that's what we request of our vendors who try to sell us stuff. And then we came from places where they would lock people into 1, 2, 3-year contracts, and that just never sat well with us. And it just, in my opinion, if you do good work, or at least our thought was, if you do good work, why do you need a contract? And knock on wood, here we are 4.5, almost 5 years later, and that has proven to be the case. If you get into business with somebody and you bring results and you can prove results and show them results, there shouldn't be any reason to leave. And if they do, listen, we can part as friends, and why make it tough for somebody to go do something else? And what we found is, even though some of the folks, the very few that have left, a lot of them have come back, because we want to provide a white glove service, and be the best marketing company out there. And we think if we do that, if that's our thinking going into it, it pays dividends in the long run. And so far, so good.
You know what? And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before I hit record just now, right? Not every person is going to be your client, and knowing your clients and knowing that mindset that your clients have. So maybe by offering that type of service, that's also something that is of interest to your ideal client, right? Yeah, I talk to my when I'm doing coaching with the paralegals, I talk about that a lot. You know, when you're opening up your own business or you're transitioning to become a business owner, an entrepreneur, or whatever you want to call it, you know, you really have to know who your client is. What type of services are you going to offer? What does that look like? How are you going to offer that? And how are you getting paid at the end of the day, right? That's one factor that a lot of us don't really even look into. We
Yes.
focus on the beautiful websites and LinkedIn profiles and the advertisement and the marketing. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, how am I going to get paid? What am I actually offering? What problem am I solving, right?
Yep.
And to whom am I solving it to? So maybe that could be something that you guys can think about. I always say, that contracts are important, but you know, you probably made a believer out of me after today, because my clients usually come back as well. Like I was telling you, with consulting, usually people look at it as a one-time thing and then they move on, but that's
Yeah.
not really the case. When you're doing your job right and you're offering services as far as what, you know, good quality, right? It's about quality over quantity. And you're offering that type of service, that continuous communication and the continuous relationship, right? Client, in my case, client consultant relationship. You know, when you cultivate that and you create that environment that's user friendly, communications are open, they feel comfortable, they understand the product, they're agreeable with the pricing and the way you're offering it and all that good stuff. So once you have all your ducks in a row, they're easily going to go to the pond, and they'll come
Yeah.
back, like you said, right? Even
Yep.
after they leave, they'll come back because they understand that it's not a one size fits all,
Yes.
and not every company is the same, and there's like different ways to offer that. So for my entrepreneurs out there or people that are looking into side hustles or whatever the case may be, for
Mhm.
my listeners out there, my legal pros, what are some I guess like high level, right? Let's not get too specific, but
Yeah.
like what are some high level tips that you can offer them so that they can really like transition right into this entrepreneur? Because I learned the hard way, like
Yeah.
hard knock school. I
Yeah.
learned the hard way, unfortunately. Everything, failure were my learning lessons. So let's give a little lifesaver out there to those listeners.
Yeah. I think to kind of piggyback off of what you said, like a lot of what we do, we do I like to think we do a really good job up front of setting the right expectations. And
Mm,
so one of those things is, for your listeners out there is when you're picking a marketing agency, pick somebody who only focuses on legal, right? That's all we do. And I'm not saying because listen, we get approached by other industries and it's just not the same. We can do legal marketing in our sleep at this point. Everybody, I have 37, I think now employees, and almost everybody has 10 years or more experience in the legal marketing industry, like
mm,
just legal. When something else comes in our door, we just turn it away because we don't know the keywords necessarily. And I mean, all these things can be found out, but it's kind of like for your listeners, if they do a certain type of law, like they focus on a certain type of law, or they focus on a certain type of law, and it makes things a lot easier. So I would I would pick an agency that knows legal, so you don't have to know you know if they know what cases are, and like you said, someone who knows how they get paid, right? How their business works. A lot of clients I sit down with and I ask them questions like, you know, putting together a marketing strategy for someone who gets paid on contingency can be completely different than somebody who gets paid on a retainer or hourly, right?
right.
Because like I tell people all the time, if you're a personal injury client, a lot of them haven't thought this through, right? Where they come to and go, hey, I got some money I want to spend on marketing. Okay, well, you do car accidents. Even if I came to this phone call with 5 car accidents, cases over my shoulder that I was going to hand you them, you're not seeing money, you're not seeing revenue for 6 to 12 months minimum, right? And so,
Exactly.
like a lot of times they come to me, we get 3 types that I tell people we get 3 kind of different groups of attorneys that come to us. There's the ones that come into us and whether they just hung a shingle or they, are cash strapped or whatever, and they go, hey, Travis, if I hand you $1, I need to see $5 come back like yesterday, all right, or certainly the first month. And there we have certain products for that, like Google AdWords or local service ads or Facebook ads or something like that, that when they light it up, the potential for the phone to ring that very next week or month is certainly a possibility, and it does. So those types of folks, I'm not going to say, hey, let me build you a website that's going to take you 2-3 months to build, and then once it's built, it's going to take 6 to 12 months for it to show up in the search engines for your phone to ring.
Right.
If you're brand new, or you get paid on contingency, have you thought that through? Has a marketing person walked you through that and set the right expectations? Because I can't tell you how many times I've ran into folks like, oh, I tried SEO, and I did it for 3 months and nothing happened. Well, someone should have told you that in the beginning. I'm sure that's some sales rep trying to make a quota, that has contracts and all that. So the first part is somebody who's looking for instant gratification. There's other folks that come to us and go, hey, Travis, usually they're the more mature, more tenured, I should say, law firms or lawyers that go say something along the lines of, Travis, I've neglected my online presence up until this point. We've been practicing for 20, 30, whatever years. But now I realize some of these young whippersnappers are taking, quote unquote, the cases I should be getting. And I know they're getting them through the through the internet. So let's go ahead and build up my online presence so I can compete on that market, with that market, and get some of those cases that these other folks are getting. And then there's a majority are kind of a combination of the two, right? Where there's yes, I want to build up my website, but I do also want to get cash flow in the door right away. So how would we go about doing that? So understanding what products go with what expectation, I think, is a big one. And make sure if someone's not asking you those questions, they probably don't know much about the legal space. And so you should probably question who you're working with. So find somebody who's an expert there and can set the right expectations, I think is the best advice I can give somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. And that goes with everything, guys. Not only marketing, when you're hiring any third party or contractor, or in my case, we love the entrepreneur spirit. So everybody that works within my company are contractors. They're all
Yeah.
1099. I don't have W-2s just because I practice what I preach. I want them to have that freedom. And so when people come to me and say, hey, listen, I want to join your team, it's like, okay, well, this is how it works here. This is not, I'm not going to give you benefits. I'm not giving you health insurance. I'm not doing anything. I want you to feel my pain. We're all on the same boat. We're all pushing the same way, and we're all, thriving together, right? And I feel like it works for me though. That's my business model, right? It
Yeah.
works for me because my team has actually become stronger because of that. I feed
Mhm.
them that entrepreneur spirit. They don't feel confined. They can work with other people as long as obviously not conflicting with my business or my time or anything. Obviously, those are like you said, you set expectations. So and it's funny because everybody's like, I really want to join your team. Like I get this all the time, especially through LinkedIn. They're like, oh my God, you seem like such a cool boss. And I was like, I'm not. And I'm not really a boss. I see myself as more as like the captain of the ship, right? Like I'll steer us the right way. However, I need a crew to help us get there, to let me know where I'm going, to get the material, so that's really how it is. And I feel like sometimes I read this quote once and I can't even remember where I saw it from, but ever since then, everybody has been saying it and repeating it on like reels and stuff like that. When you hear it once and then it's like
Yeah.
everywhere in your algorithm, that's how algorithms work.
Yeah.
So, and it goes around the lines, I know I'm probably going to butcher it. And they say that a salary is like a slave to the man or something like that, right? Like it's just to
Mhm.
keep you like confined or whatever. And so ever since then, I was like, man, I don't want that dynamic, right? I don't want that
Yeah.
environment in my company. I really want them to thrive and really want them to grow organically and come up with their ideas. Like when we have team meetings, I'm all about, okay, this is what my agenda looks like, but do you guys have any ideas? Do you guys
Yeah.
have anything different? Do you guys have anything to offer? Have you found out about a new software that we can probably implement and, delete from our systems or whatever the case may be? Is this working for you guys? Do you want more team meetings? Do you want more one-on-one with me? Like asking the questions, but I feel like that has to go both ways. Even when you're asking for business for third parties when you're onboarding somebody. Like for me, my website developer, or like a podcast manager, right? Because obviously I don't do this on my own, guys. My assistant, which is like literally my right hand, our marketing assistant. Like we have a whole team. So, but before I onboarded them, I went through almost 100 people each
Oh,
for
wow.
each position. Yeah. Because
Right.
I was like, I need someone that understands me, that understands the way we're working, that is comfortable with this, because I don't need a 9 to 5 employee. Like that's
Yeah.
not how our business works. But you
Yeah.
have to be aware of that, right? You have to be aware of who you are, how you want to market, what type of services you want to market, and where you want to live, right? Because not every marketing outlet is for you.
Yeah.
Some people like the old-fashioned way where they print out magazines and they pay an ad in a magazine or a newspaper or whatever the case may be. And that might work for them. Who knows? I don't know. I never
Yeah.
tried it.
No.
For us is LinkedIn. Like I really don't focus any more efforts on any other social media because LinkedIn has been amazing. So
Hmm.
why break it? Why fix it if it's not broken? And now Instagram is getting to like a close second because of the
Hmm.
short videos and stuff like that.
Sure. Sure.
So just I guess my whole point to this whole thing that I was saying is it's not a one size fits all, right? You have to really be aware of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and who you're trying to do that with and
Yeah.
for, right? Like
Yeah.
that's really like the name of the game, right? You probably, like you said, you have around 300 plus attorneys. Most of them are probably personal injury, family, and law or whatever. They're pretty much in like 4 to 5 buckets, right? Because you
Hmm.
focus on certain types of laws. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, you're not going to use the same tactics for this firm that you are with that firm, even though they're both probably personal injury. But one of them has a really great following in a social media, or one of them has an amazing email list, or, you kind of work with what they have and then enhance whatever they don't have. But it's not like I want people to know and understand that it's literally, you start working with what you have, right? And then
Sure.
go from there. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I'm speaking from experience, and I'm gonna get a little personal here, guys, but earlier this year, when I was thinking of updating my website, I went through like 5 web developers and I went crazy. And I was like, I want to revamp it all. I want to change my colors, my logo. Like, I went crazy. I was like, I got to change it. New
Yeah.
year, new branding, new this, new that. And I just went absolutely insane. My assistant actually had a heart to heart with me and is like, don't fix what's, like she
Yeah.
repeated
Yeah.
my words and she's
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
working. There's no need for you to change. They're fine. Everything's working. We're fine. Every business goes through a down cycle. You're fine. We're going to go back up. Like I was freaking out. It was so bad. And I ended up just saying, okay, fine. We just have to update it like a normal website. You always consistently have to update it with like new services and processes and stuff like that. And I think maybe the one big change we're going to do is like the translation for Spanish. So for our
Yeah.
Spanish speakers out there. But other than that, I was like, all right, fine. But it was nice that my assistant felt comfortable enough to be like, you're
Yeah.
okay, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Talk you
please
off the
don't freak
ledge.
out on us.
Yeah. 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 I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, kind of piggybacking on that, like with clients, we do a pretty extensive needs analysis in the beginning before we work with somebody,
Mhm.
especially because, listen, we have no desire to bring on somebody who's just going to come here for a month or two or three. Like it doesn't make sense for them, most importantly, and it doesn't make sense for us. So we want to make sure we understand what kind of cases do you want, where do you want them from, how many of them do you want? Right? Because like you said, not one shoe fits all. So, there's some folks want to come to us. I want to dominate Los Angeles for, car accidents, and other folks, are from Topeka, Kansas, and just want, a couple of estate planning clients per month or something, right? And the whole kinds of all different spots in between. And so it's important for us to understand what is it they're trying to do the research, go out and do the research and figure out what it's going to take to get that result. Um, and set up that campaign and then check in on a monthly or quarterly basis, however frequent they want to. The more the merrier for us. But understand, like, because their needs are going to change. A lot of
Mhm.
times attorneys haven't had any success marketing online, so they really don't have they truly don't, they truly don't have a belief that they can get their clients from the internet, because all of
Yeah.
the other stuff that they've done hasn't worked. And then when they see kind of the ball go through the net, if you will, to use a basketball analogy, they go, "Oh wow, okay, so this does work. Okay, so I only wanted two before. How do I get four? You know what I mean?" And us being able to help them scale their business and roll up our sleeves and have them listen to the phone calls. A lot of times folks don't realize that they're missing phone calls. Like it's
Mhm.
not uncommon for a law firm to miss 40% of their phone calls. None of them believe that happens, right? But it does. I would say across the board, so a lot of times we're having to help them make a connection with an answering service to make sure none of the because voicemail is death in
Yes.
this space, right?
Yes.
Like 90% of people, I think it's 90% of people don't leave messages.
Yes.
And attorneys who haven't marketed before, they're used to growing, they're used to getting most of their business from referrals, right?
Mm.
And because referrals are gonna, if I was referred to you, I would call and leave a message because my alternative is to get online and try to find a stranger, right?
Yeah.
And try to make heads or tails of who's good and who's not and all that. So
True.
I'm gonna leave a message for you and wait for you to call me back. Well, when
Hmm.
you're marketing online, they've already resorted to that, right? They're looking at strangers, and so they're going to I think 73% of the time, potential clients hire the first attorney they talk to. So
Mm.
what I educate my clients is, listen, forget all this crazy marketing. Get good at one thing, answering the phone and converting the folks that are calling. Because that is going to, you're going to have to spend, I tell them, you'll spend half the money on marketing it, twice the result if you just fix that one thing. Because most attorneys don't fix it. And they're
Mm.
in denial that's even going on. So we help them, we record all the calls so they can listen to it. A lot of times attorneys are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe my assistant answers the phone that way." And
Yes.
it blows their mind, and in a
That's
bad
what
way.
we do, by the way, in our
Yeah.
consulting services. We definitely have that component in our training because sometimes they don't realize it. It's human. You probably caught them on a bad day. That's
Yeah.
probably not how they always answer it,
Yeah.
but just that one time, that person's not going to know that they're having a bad day. And why is that translating through the phone in the first place?
Yeah.
That's really where the big component is. But yeah, continue. I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
no, no, no. It's like having tracking your phone calls and listening to them. Like we just went through kind of an audit through one of our clients who was, "Hey, Travis, I don't think this is working. It was working, but now it's not." I'm okay. So I listened to eight from January 1st, and here we are, what, January 24th, and we had brought them 87 phone calls. I'm like, what are the
Mm.
chances like 87 phone calls didn't work? But okay, let me give me a couple days. Let me go listen, and went through all of them, and sure as heck, there was six consults
Mm.
of this. It was, excuse me, it was 67 phone calls, excuse me, and six consults, about five missed calls, 27 of them went to voicemails, that kind of thing. The folks, the person that they have answering the phone
Not so good.
was rude, to say the least. And I'm like, okay, let's. And this isn't in our job description at all. I don't get paid for doing all this or whatever, but this is the
That's not
kind of
even in the
stuff,
package.
not even in the package. Like a
You're
lot of
just trying not
times
to look bad.
I'm just trying to show them, like, listen, if this is working, or this, we got to answer the phone for it to work. I don't care how good I am at marketing. If you don't answer the phone, I don't have that magic wand.
Gotta meet me halfway here.
Yeah. We're looking for that product, the magic wand that puts money right into your pocket.
That
But
would be great. Yes. And then
um,
when you find it, please send it my way.
that's right. That's right. I won't have to sell another website ever again if
Yeah, exactly.
but no, it's so important though that they figure this out. Like once again, make sure you're putting chat on your website, right?
Oh,
Like the
yes.
folks who probably, I'm 48 years old. Folks younger than me are more apt to send a text message or send fill out a form or a chat message rather than picking up the phone, right? Attorneys forget
Yeah.
because they've been doing this so long. They forget how intimidating it is to call an attorney,
Yeah.
right? Like you're going through, or just the someone who's going
They're
through it.
already in a difficult mindset, right?
Yeah,
So like actually relive whatever that moment was or whatever is initiating it's hard and it's
yeah,
easier in this new societal norm about like I found myself, this was like the other day, my husband called me out on it, but I found myself having a full-on conversation with my best friend, like my friend that I've known since high school, through
Yeah,
text. Like I was
yeah,
like, I could have just called her. Why am I texting her? You know,
yeah,
like, but like we don't, we don't notice that, right? We don't realize the conversations that we have through writing, through
yeah,
emails,
yeah,
through whatever. So you're right.
absolutely.
I truly, I think that's super important.
It's like leave however your potential client is comfortable with contacting the firm, let that allow that to happen, whether that's
Yeah.
through a phone call, whether that's through a chat, or whether it's so you can put text on your website now, and make it easy for people to contact you at there, because a lot of people don't realize like how attorneys get paid, right? They think it's like getting in a taxi cab that the meter starts as soon as you jump in, right? And I tell them like the contingency folks, employment, PI, I think work comp, like make sure they don't understand that. They're
Yeah.
scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a tough spot, or they're in a. I mean, if you're calling on an attorney, more times than not, you're in a not a good situation, right? Whether you just got in a car accident, or got arrested, or going through a divorce, or you're suing your business partner, or whatever it may be, right? Or you're getting deported, or whatever's happening. Like, make it easy for them to communicate with you. And if you do that, I don't even care if your marketing's not working right now, just converting more of the folks that are being referred to you. That's why I
Yeah.
tell everybody, I said, priority number one, when I bring on a marketing client, or a client that wants to market with us, how do I convert more of the referrals that are coming to you? Right? That's the easy money. That's the low hanging fruit.
Yes.
Like, how
Mm-hmm.
many times like I go to a website and like there's no phone number on there? I'm like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? Like, like, oh, I'm trying to be mysterious, or whatever the heck you're doing, or like what? Like, I never understood
I
that.
love
Or
it.
like not allowing someone to send you an email, right? Or a
Ah.
form fill,
Mm-hmm.
like those types
Yeah.
of things. Like,
We actually made that change. That was actually one of a feedback from one of our listeners. They were trying to contact us and they didn't want to, they're not social media people, like they just don't like social media. And
yeah,
so they're like, I couldn't find an email anywhere. Like, and I was just like, wow, I never thought about actually physically putting an email address on my website. Like,
yeah,
yes, we have the contact thing where you can fill it out. And yes,
yeah,
chat box, everything you're talking about, a phone number and all that. But we don't have like the actual email address because sometimes when you click on the contact, you don't know, right? You don't get a copy of the email and people just feel uncomfortable or they don't know if it even went through. So, like you said, right? Everybody's different. And so I was like, wow, I didn't even think about just putting a general, even if it's just a general email, it doesn't have to be your personal email, but
yeah,
at least an email where people can just, email you and you still have access to it and somebody's actually looking at that email. And that's kind of the
yep,
key there. And so I didn't realize that. And as soon as I did that one change, like you said, I was able to get natural like influx of whatever it was, fan
yeah,
mail, podcast guests, people wanting to be on the podcast or, people just wanting to set up some time to speak or meet up because they're local. They wanted to meet up with me in person. So they didn't want to use like the automated, because we have Calendly, to automate
yeah,
all our scheduling. They didn't want to use that. They actually wanted to meet with me in person. So they wanted to email me and say, hey, I want to set up something in person, have a coffee, have this. And I'm just like, wow, all this potential that I've been losing out for so
yeah,
long, right?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, definitely, like you said, everybody communicates differently, and we need to keep track of that. But not to lose track of time, I really want to get to this next question that I had for lined up for you is in a world where we all look like we're doing the same thing, right? Because
Mhm.
the first thing they tell us about business is look at your competitor, look at what they're doing and where they're living and who their clients are and how are they marketing, whatever, right? That's like
Yep,
marketing gurus 101. They always tell you the same stuff.
yep,
But at the end of the day, how do you as anyone, right? Anyone that looks like you're doing the same thing as everybody else, stand out, right? Like how it's so hard. Like how do you drown out that noise? And how do you just not make your website the same colors as everybody else? Or, yeah, let's say everybody follows your tips. Well, everybody else is doing it too. So like really, how do you capture that attention, right? And when we're not talking about referrals, obviously, but like
yeah,
when you're trying to just get, I guess, cold leads, I don't know really what
yeah,
they're called. But yeah,
sure.
when you're trying to get cold leads, how do you capture their attention? How do you grab that attention from everybody else?
Okay, so there's a few things with that. First of all, you got to show up, right? If
Okay.
you're either on the, and so there's many different ways. You're either going to do paid ads, right, with pay per click or local service ads or Facebook, where you pay to get to the top, essentially, or
Right.
you're going to optimize your website so that you show up in the search engines, right? And it's
Mhm.
first page or nothing. Being on the second, third, 12th, 100th page,
I
that
was
does
gonna
nothing
see
for
you.
you. It's first page or nothing. Don't let anybody tell you different, right?
That's
So
true.
the first thing is getting the visibility, right? And is there if you're competing with the 800-pound gorilla in your market, right? Maybe you don't go after, like Houston proper. You optimize your site for some of the suburbs around Houston, right? Because the hill to climb and the money you need to spend to show up in Houston, maybe it's top dollar where you can go and make it just a fine living going after some of the suburbs around, city by city in whatever your market is. That's number one. So figure out, and you should sit with a consultant and figure out who can do the research to figure out what is it going to take to get there.
Shout out. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, that's right. And what is the opportunity? What opportunity is there in your market? Or you go the other way and you go niche. You niche out the type of cases you do, right? Instead of going after, you know, car accidents, maybe you're going after Uber, right? Or maybe you're
Mm.
going after pedestrian accidents, or maybe you're going after these new here in Southern California is super popular, these new e-bikes. You know what I mean? That kids are
Oh my goodness.
flying down the
I
road
tried
at
those.
90
They're
miles an
dangerous.
hour. Yeah, something needs to be changed there. But anyway, but either niche, get more niche as far as your geographical target, or maybe the case type, right?
Mhm.
Or using some of these different marketing tools. Where is it you're going to be able to afford to compete at, right? If you have deep pockets, then you can just blanket everything and go after everything, and you'll make a bunch of money. But in most cases, you probably need to get more niche in what you're doing.
I like that.
The second thing is, and then so once you have that visibility, kind of now goes to the beauty pageant of, let's talk about your website, right? Like
Yeah.
people, even referrals, like we always say, like referrals comes in twos and threes, meaning like they get two or three names and they're going to pick whoever has the best looking website, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Mm.
I'll give you a quick story. So, my wife and I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. So a little over
Oh,
yeah,
me too.
a little over 7 years ago. I remember, and I preach this. I've been preaching this to the attorneys for years and years and years. I finally saw it in my own world. My wife and I, my wife was my wife was pregnant, and we're looking for a pediatrician, and we live in Orange County, California, right? Plenty of good doctors around. And so she started out, asked her girlfriends, and got two or three names. And she's driving, and we're driving down the freeway, and she's looking websites up on her phone. And I hear her go, "Oh, we're not taking our baby to this guy. His website's terrible." Or are they, "Oh, we're not going to take, oh, not this one. The reviews are garbage." So she's
Mm.
doing this, and she could have just eliminated the best two pediatricians in Orange County, but she's judging it that way because
Mhm.
how else will
I'm a
we
big
know?
believer about reviews though. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously take it with a grain of salt, but like if it's recent, if it was like a year or two ago, I mean, okay, fine. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But if it was like a month ago, even a couple weeks ago, and you're getting a bad review, it's like, and then it's not just one, it's like
yeah,
several, like,
yeah,
and it's like out of 100 something. Yeah, you gotta. I'm a big 4.5 or above. If you don't have a 4.5 or above, yeah, and that goes for restaurants or anything.
yes,
But yeah, I kind of did the similar when I was looking for physicians and providers. I'm very picky about that.
yeah,
And obviously we all have our personal criteria. Like me as a Latina, I personally prefer somebody that speaks Spanish, right? That
sure,
understands my culture and understands my language.
absolutely,
Even though obviously I speak English very well, but I feel more comfortable around people that speak my language. They don't have to particularly be Puerto Rican because that'll be very close to impossible to find like a specific, provider in a specific area that's Puerto
yeah,
Rican. But I don't know. That's just my personal preference. That's who I feel more comfortable with when I look at providers. That's one of my things. I would love for them to
absolutely.
speak Spanish. So, aside from the reviews and the websites and everything else, not everybody's, what is it? one of the marketing ladies that when I first started opening my business, that I interviewed, she told me, "You could be a peach, but not everybody likes peaches."
That's right.
And that kind of stuck with me, and I was like, "Yeah, that's true. I could be loud and proud, and I'm not your traditional consultant. I don't have a business degree. I have almost a law degree, but
Yeah.
I don't have a business degree or anything like that, like a typical one. But yeah, not everybody's gonna be your again.
You can't be everything to everybody.
No,
Right?
absolutely
I
not.
mean, there is certainly like kind of back to the no contract thing. I tell everyone it works both ways. It
Mm,
frees up the attorneys to leave at any point in time if they don't feel like we're providing the service, but it also lets us to kind of part ways as well. If we just run into somebody we don't enjoy working with, we can part as friends and let's walk them down the street and find somebody that is going to work with them
mm,
well. Because listen, life is too short. I tell
yes.
all my sales reps, I'm on, listen, you're going to develop your book of business, and why work with somebody you don't enjoy working with? It's just life is too
Mm,
short. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
and it may be a personality thing, or maybe whatever it is. Like find your tribe and work there, because we do good work. Pat ourselves on the back, and we're gonna help people. So and also work with attorneys that we believe in.
yeah.
It's and not there's not every marketer out there is great. Not every attorney out there is great, right?
Uh,
So
yes.
when we're making somebody the king of the hill and having dominated a market, we would like it to be somebody who we would want to send our friends and family to, right? I
Yeah,
mean that's
absolutely.
super important. But anyway,
I completely agree with that. And I thank you for your time and being here on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I thank you for your knowledge. Not a lot of people are willing to provide such insights. So
I
I
appreciate that.
appreciate that. And I hope that the audience, kind of got a really great, well-rounded, perception or perspective, I guess, of, marketing and how you can look at it as both, even if you are, and this is just like a little side note for you guys, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a business owner, let's say you are the paralegal or the executive at the law firms,
Mhm.
this is something that you can definitely take to them and present to them and offer this type of knowledge and this service that can set you apart from the rest of the staff. So the more you know, the better, and the more value you add to yourself. So just keep that in mind as well. It's not just for entrepreneurs, it's for everyone that has, their hands in the pot. So definitely keep that in mind. And thank you so much, Travis, again, for being on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Until justice is served. Bye, guys.